Hi, Simon. Really, really warm welcome to you to today's, our very first and only kind of podcast at the moment, I suppose, if that's what we want to call it. I've called you on today so we can have a little chat about the conference. You've agreed to come on board and be one of the speakers at our conference. And for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Jeanette Delahunty and I own TSK Academy. And we're organising a conference on the 22nd of March of this year, 2024, and it's for the full day, the Friday. We have it CPD accredited, and we have a number of amazing speakers and workshops that we're going to be holding on the day. So our first guest is Simon Preston, and Simon Preston is from Embrace Neurodiversity, which is a UK-based company. So Simon, very welcome to you here today. First question I'd like to ask you really is to tell me a little bit about yourself and why you do the job that you do.
Yeah, sure. So I am currently in my professional world. I am a head of faculty for maths and computing within a special education school located in Birmingham. But I'm also an advocate for neurodiversity inclusion, and particularly within the education setting. So it's not just about the quality of teaching and learning for students, it's also about the workplace inclusion as well. And I'm a firm believer that if neurodivergent educators are supported in the workplace, their lived experience can then be tapped into to then improve the quality of education for the children and young people. So that's why I do what I do, because I feel that there is a gap in there at the moment, and there needs to be a shift in focus on to supporting the workforce equally as much as working with the children. And that's why I do what I do.
So to start off your journey, Simon, you didn't just come into this because you wanted inclusion. There was another reason behind you coming into this kind of field. Could you tell us maybe a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I unfortunately in 2010 I suffered the loss of my daughter, and my life became very turbulent after that for quite a few years. And I didn't know at the time that I was autistic. I knew I was dyslexic, but I didn't know I was autistic. And life just became very, very difficult, very, very different. It was stepping from one reality to another, effectively, and it was very frightening. And it wasn't until around 2018 that I had quite a significant burnout. And when looking back on the events that led up to that burnout, it was quite clear that I was demonstrating a lot of the traits of autism. And following on from that, a bit more exploration with my GP, and then I got a diagnosis in 2019. And getting that diagnosis was quite life-changing for me, because it answered a lot of questions when I look back on what happened in that period of time and how I was reacting to things. And it's because of that it made me realize that I am not on my own when I come with those kind of struggles either, because when I jump from one reality to another, and being in the world of being a bereaved parent, it made me realize that that world exists. So it gave me a much greater understanding of lived experience and how powerful it actually is. And so during the pandemic, I decided to pursue an MBA in educational leadership and management, and I did focus my dissertation on neurodiversity inclusion within the workforce. And I graduated with distinction about a year and a half ago now, and now I'm doing a doctorate in education, and I'm looking specifically at inclusive practice within the education workforce.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. And it just shows really the misconceptions that so many people have had about autism and dyslexia and things like that through the through our whole lives, really, through generations, how many misconceptions there have been about this. You're living proof that PhDs and MBAs and things like that are completely possible, and especially if we can provide the right supports for the children and young people through their education. So with that in mind, why did you decide, when I asked you, would you come and speak at this conference, why did you say yes? Why did you decide you wanted to do it?
Well, first and foremost, great opportunity to come back over to Ireland because I love Ireland. And I've only been to Ireland once before, and that was enough for me to get the bug. But also there's a little bit of a story behind that too, because when I last came to Ireland was 2 months after Bethany's death, and we came over to Ireland as an escape. My parents at the time, well, they're still my parents now, aren't they? What am I saying at the time? But my parents are. They took me and my wife to Ireland, to Dublin, and we absolutely loved it. And so when the opportunity came up to speak in Ireland, and specifically on neurodiversity in education, it was a no-brainer. There's a personal connection as well as a professional one and an academic one, and so talking about neurodiversity in education is really crucial right now, especially post-pandemic, and more and more people are realizing the power of diverse ways of thinking. And so to have an opportunity as well to contribute towards that discussion is amazing.
Yeah, we're actually really excited to hear your talk. Maybe you could tell us a sneaky little peek about what that talk is going to be about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about mostly how powerful actual lived experience is, and it's not just a thing that exists, it's also got the power to generate knowledge. And when you've got a lot of people with a similar lived experience, it'll never be exactly the same, and you bring those people together, you can actually generate quite a secure knowledge base of which to then build upon. And so what I'm intending to do when in this event is to talk about how I moved from one reality to another, how that shifted my perceptions, but also the crucial bit that it is actually really not possible for someone who hasn't lived that experience to understand fully what that lived experience is like. So as a bereaved parent, I know from my own approach, from 2 years before Bethany died, there was an incident in Malta, and where Bethany nearly got run over. And I remember that myself and my wife were saying to each other at the time, so, "Oh, I can't imagine what it's like if we'd have lost Bethany then," and things like that. And it actually happened. We lost Bethany a few years later for a sudden cardiac death. So it was like, no, we didn't know. We really didn't know how you can't know the emotions that are involved in that and what it's like to experience that kind of trauma unless you actually live it. So it kind of developed an empathy and understanding what it's like, and then the years after that, with the turbulence I was having in life and in employment and so on, again that generates that trauma, and then that's where I got that appreciation really that people's lived experiences are real, and we may not be able to see them, but they are real for those people that are living them. So when we think about neurodivergent teachers in the profession, their experiences, if they're really struggling, is real to them, and that's basically what I'd like to talk about, because with improved support for neurodivergent teachers and TAs, but not forget, let's talk about educators generally, can really sort of help generate that knowledge and understanding of that lived experience that the children then go through as well, and develop that inclusive practice further, so more children are able to achieve their full potential.
Yeah. And just for people listening in Ireland, TA, teaching assistant, isn't that right?
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
teaching assistants.
okay.
So it's
Teaching.
additional adults in the classroom. Very, very important people. They really are, but often can be treated as unimportant,
Yeah,
and that's a whole other area as well.
yeah. So those would be similar for us here would be special needs assistants. We call them SNAs. So they go into the classroom and they help kids who have any kind of challenges. And a special needs assistant over here can be somebody who helps with medications or toileting, feeding, or they could have more specialist areas. And kids who are showing distress, they might need to bring them out of the room to give them sensory movement breaks and things like that. So I would imagine maybe a similar kind of thing with the teaching
Similar.
assistant.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and we're bringing up the idea of neurodivergent teachers. I think is a really important thing to actually bring up because we're forever talking about neurodivergent children. So when we say neurodivergent, for anybody listening that doesn't really understand what that term is, it's talking about people who have differently wired brains. So somebody who may be autistic or ADHD, dyslexic, Tourette syndrome. It's quite a long list, so we're not going to do the whole list here, but you get a kind of a general idea. But there's that misconception that adults don't need support. Once we turn 18, that's it, it's done, it's gone. So I think bringing up neurodivergent teachers is actually really important because we do have quite a lot of teachers who would be neurodivergent and maybe haven't identified or are not aware that they are neurodivergent or haven't got assessed or have been assessed and haven't told anybody. There's still a lot of stigma and shame, and especially here in Ireland, there's still a lot of stigma and shame around any diagnosis around that area. So I think it's going to be a really important topic that you're going to bring up.
I
Having
completely agree. I completely agree.
the lived experience between the teacher and then having that empathy for the kids in their classroom, I think will be very powerful.
Definitely. I mean, and that's where the research currently sits at the moment. Is that there's some good, decent research that's focused very much on the children and young people, and quite rightly so. But to the point where when you read articles and you're reading newspaper clippings or comments in social media, it's all about the teacher should do this, the teachers should do that. I think, but actually, there are neurodivergent teachers as well. And there seems to be had been an implied assumption that all teachers are neurotypical, and they're not. And when there's a focus where a lot of head teachers are, say it's all about the children, that's true to a degree. However, without a workforce, you can't support your children. So actually, your workforce needs to be the priority, and that means supporting your neurodivergent staff as well as your neurotypical together, working together. And if they're able to do that and being supportive of a neurodiverse workforce, then they're stepping towards a completely, well, I say completely, but an improved, inclusive culture of that setting. At the moment, it's not inclusive because it's only focused on one group within that community.
Yeah.
So, and that's the children. But if you think about all the other key stakeholders within that community who are neurodivergent, they all need supporting, and that's where I think that the system should really head towards.
Yeah, absolutely. And the system here in Ireland is very similar to what it is in the UK. And I was raised in the UK and moved here, and I've been here 25 years, and it's still a very similar system. And I think it's quite similar across the globe in the sense of where we're at with inclusion. There's still integration is happening, but inclusion still is not. And I know that integration and inclusion is a subject that you're very passionate about.
There can be quite often a misconception that they're the same thing, and they're not. I mean, with integration being about fixing somebody into fitting in a fixed environment, which is by and large neuronormative, and that's when medical model thinking starts to dominate when it comes to making reasonable adjustments. And so understanding inclusion is about the environment and the setting, and everyone being able to be what is termed as their authentic selves, they're able to use their strengths as well as having accommodations and adjustments for the challenges. And that is more inclusive and is then leaning towards the social model. So yeah, it's a misconception that's out there that integration and inclusion is the same thing, and it's not. And there's more understanding around inclusive teaching practices for the students, but staff are still being integrated. And so, but the staff are the ones that really should have the focus, because then you've got that lived experience to tap into afterwards, which is very powerful, that can be used to help the children even further.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's one thing I definitely like to talk about.
Yeah, amazing. And it's actually really valuable, because like that, there is a lot of misconceptions out there about so many things, and to get that understanding about what the difference is and how we can actually improve that for the kids that we're helping, as well as the teachers that should be getting those supports as well, you know. So tell me, what do you hope people are going to actually take away from your talk?
I'm hoping that people will have a real deeper understanding of lived experience and the potential it has to generate knowledge, because that's the actual knock-on effect. It's not just acknowledging a lived experience, it's the knowledge that can be drawn from it. So it's understanding that knowledge can be used to help improve the quality of education for the children. And I think that's the main key message that will come across. And it's what I'm also going to be talking about is a way that's a change management process that is an known effective one that can help towards moving people in the right direction, really. And because that's the other thing that I've always come across, is that there's never there's never a lack of positive and good intentions. There's nobody that doesn't really want to do something about this. The question is how, and how is it being implemented? What are they going to do within the parameters of which the macro environment around them sets? And so it's looking at change management models and things is really crucial. So what I am also hoping to do is leave the people that come to listen with an option of how they could move it forward, their good intentions as well. So it is about sort of turning those intentions into action, and then that's where you'll get the impact and the change.
And I think something that's very, very powerful from your own perspective, for people that's going to be there and listening to you, is that you have actually lived experience from all perspectives. So not only are you autistic and dyslexic and have been living that, and trauma, you have that as well that you've been living, you're also a parent, and a parent of an autistic child, and you are also an employee in a school, it's a higher level education school, is that right?
It's a secondary education, but
Secondary.
it's 11 to 18, and
Yeah.
it's an autism specialist provision.
So you have
yes,
it from all perspectives. You have
autism specifically is my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, autism specifically is my life. And yeah, I've got two autistic children. My eldest, younger than Bethany, but my current eldest, Sophie, who was non-attending school out of anxiety quite a bit, was on a very long time waiting to have what we have, an EHCP provision over here, which then allowed her to attend a specialist autism provision, and it took 2 years and things. And I just think it's a real shame that there's a lot of children out there who are really struggling to be able to attend a school setting to learn, and really want to learn as well. And that's the other thing I've noticed with working within an autism provision. Children, they're really desperate to learn. They really are. They really want to learn, and they're great great children that I'm teaching. I really enjoy teaching them.
Yeah.
So So yeah, so I see it from I've seen it from a lot of different angles, as an employee within the system, as a parent of a child, of two children, as well, like you're saying, and also now it's through the academia that I've embarked on, and yeah, it's
So,
things are moving in the right direction, but there's a lot of places that are stumped as to how to do it.
and I think that's because you have so much experience in all of those different areas, you're really going to connect with literally everybody in the room. Like, because we'll have parents and carers as well as teachers from all walks of the education system. I think that you're going to connect with everybody. So I think that people are going to want to ask you lots and lots of questions. How long are you going to be available for on the day for people to come and talk to you? And are you happy for people to come and talk to you?
I'm very happy for people to come and talk, definitely, because we're all there for the same reasons. We're all on the same team, and that's the thing that's what always drives my um, why I attend and come to conferences and speak, because we are all on the same. We all want the same thing, and having a discussion and debates and things are actually very healthy to have. And so, I mean, I'm planning to have at least 10 minutes at the when I do the talk, to allow time for a few questions. But I will be around for the vast majority of the rest of the day then to speak to people. I'll be available, and happy to have a chat with people over a coffee, no problem.
That's going to be amazing. And I think that they'll be queuing up to actually have those conversations with you, because you do have such a mountain of experience from all perspectives, which is hugely valuable for the guys over here, especially. Um, we're going to be recording your talk there for you as well, so that will be available to people after the fact, and for yourself as well to use whatever way you want. And I think that that's going to be something that's really valuable to be able to put out there after the fact, as well. It's going to be really, really good talk. So tell me about what else is coming up in your life. I know you've kind of opened tell me, the CLG company limited by guarantee, is that, or CIC it's
It's a
called over there.
CIC, community interest company. Yes. So
Okay.
I set it up, legally set it up in the sense of the through Companies House last April. But I've been biding my time to find the right people to be involved in that. So it's called Neurodiversity in Education, CIC, and at the moment recruiting directors into key positions, and so far we're quite really pleased with the number of people that really want to get involved in it. It just shows the magnitude of how many really want to see the system updating and moving into the 21st century neurodiverse education system that it really should be. And so, and the reason why I set that up was because even through the work I did with Embrace Neurodiversity, it's just so apparent that there's so many individuals out there with such brilliant knowledge and understanding, and even in the research shows that neurodivergent teachers have a really strong rapport with their students because they understand the challenges, etc., and so on. But they're all in their own areas, isolated. So neurodiversity education is aiming to bring lots of people together and work with the system to help improve it, basically. So improving the system from within. And we've just been having some positive conversations with the British Educational Research Association. That's been really, really good. And also with the Chartered College of Teaching. And so we're trying to develop some effective partnerships as well, that where we can all work together, because both of those organisations are fantastic in what they do. And it'd be great to bring all that together to try and bring academia and the profession closer together as well. And so very early days, and but it's exciting times ahead. But we're not rushing it, because we do need to make sure we get things right from the outset.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be really important, especially if we're wanting to make changes from within. And hopefully something like that can be replicated over here. You know, there's always room for expansion, Simon.
Definitely, yeah.
Absolutely. Something would be good. Um, there's also something else on the cards there you were telling me about before we came online. It's to do with a show.
Oh yeah. So I've only just received a notification that that I'm being offered a slot at the autism show. So I believe it's going to be the Birmingham one, I believe. I don't have any more further detail on that, but I'm going to be talking about my experiences as a autistic bereaved father, basically. So it's not so much education focused, but it is autism focused, because I can go into some of the things that, particularly about how monotropism um, was linked to how I ended up in depression, as well as my dyslexic thinking, visualizing. So it's a little bit like that that I'll be sort of going a bit more in depth into that talk. So an example was that because when I lost Bethany, I went through quite a period of time that I felt that I failed as a father. So I was constantly trying to find as much as possible to see what could I have done differently that was led to a different outcome. And because I think very, very quickly and visually, I'm constantly making changes. And I was very intensely focused on that, hence the monotropism. So I ended up in a very deep depression, which I still suffer from now, and I won't ever get out of it, but I can manage it. But I did eventually get to a point, which was after I burnt out, that there was nothing. Actually, it wasn't my fault. There was nothing I could have done. And people telling me over the years, nothing you could have done about it, nothing. But I could not accept that at all. I was just focusing. There's got to have been something I missed, and I was going over and over and over again. And it does some nasty things to you when that happens. So yeah, and then I can sort of talk about how I sort of managed to move out of that, and that's when I then decided to go into doing an MBA, because I needed to find a purpose after that, and well, here we are.
Which is amazing. I mean, your story is amazing. I could literally talk to you all day, but my Zoom account won't allow that. So, okay. So the last thing I'm going to ask you, unless you have anything else you want to add, if there's anything else you want to add, you can add it absolutely. But other than that, then how could people get in contact with you if they want to find out more information, or if they want to book you for a talk? Or speaker events, or for training? How can they get in touch with you?
The easiest way to get hold of me would be email. So Simon at embraceneurodiversity.co.uk, and you can also try to well, you can also contact me to arrange a video call, because talking is always better to try and understand what people would like to get out of the talk and things, because I like to try and adapt what I do to make sure that people that are listening are getting the things that they want to listen to. So it's not just me talking at people. I don't want to do that. I want to try and be as helpful to their context as possible. So they can contact me via video call as well, and arrange a video call with me on the website, which is www.embraceneurodiversity.co.uk. And third way is LinkedIn under Simon Preston MBA. I check that frequently, so I always check my messages. So there's a third way.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to add, Simon, to today?
Other than I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's come up very quickly as well, which is nice. And yes, I just I hope that what I talk about is useful and not and thought provoking more than anything. And if people want to get in touch to talk up to continue the discussion afterwards, please do. And more than happy to bounce some ideas with people.
Amazing, and we're super excited to have you. I actually can't wait to meet you in person. It's going to be great. So thank you so much for giving up your time for me today, Simon. And I hope everybody got something out of that. And get online, buy your tickets. It's www.conference.tskacademy.com, and you can book now. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.